So it is 8:49 here on Monday morning. We're opening up first day of the week after the whole Russian and Ukraine warfare that started off last week. And we're seeing a little bit of a gap down, but nothing too significant. And all things considered, pretty good sustain during the overnight session for the bulls. I'm going to record this and upload this and just talk about my thoughts here heading into the open. All right. So let's talk about the ES first, and I'll jump through the VIX and then look at some different beta names. So pretty much as far as the big picture perspective, we saw confirmation of the breakdown here as we saw the tensions escalating overseas. We finally got the big gap down and flush down here into 4,100 last week, and then the rally up into Friday. So we had a significant upside move from 4,100 all the way up to essentially 43. Early weakness during the overnight and continuation there into the close Friday. Okay, now we're getting the gap down here into Monday. We held that 42.50s area demand, and now we are moving towards that red to green. As far as what's changed over the weekend from a macro perspective, the headlines that have come across were not enough to roll us back to the lows. The bulls line in the sand for right now is going to be 42.50. Any price action below 42.50, and we essentially will probably retest the lows. So that's kind of the hard stop long idea here for today. If you notice, zooming in here on the 15 minutes, we saw a lot of consolidation here back on the 24th and 25th, and here during pre-market this morning, we saw some pullback there, pivot, reclaim, and head to the upside. So 42.50, definitely the long side idea in the sand. Ideally, we get some supply off the open into that level or towards that level, or peak below 4,300 there for a hold, reclaim, and maybe red to green move. That's pretty much the bullish perspective. We can just chop or we can roll, but I really feel like it's going to go either way today, just based on the fact that a lot of people are going to be worried about headline risk. We're currently in an inside bar. I kind of expect that inside bar to break during today's session. And I would be surprised if we just held here and magnet 4,300 into the close. And we're in a high VIX environment, guys. I'll check up on the VIX here for you. Interestingly enough, we're less fearful as of last week on this invasion than we were on January 24th, right? The VIX just barely hit 3780s when last week it almost hit 39. And then we saw a huge sell-off and flush as the market ramped over the next 2 days, right? But currently we got the gap up here to 32, and this is where the market's sitting. So right now it's looking like the VIX is about to walk its way back to 30, right? Given that the ES held its gap, beta didn't gap down too far. There was no continued panic, even though we have an elevated VIX. So I think ideally we see this VIX spike up towards pre-market highs, ES towards pre-market lows, beta towards pre-market lows for a hold and reclaim, and maybe a remount towards the upside. If ES can manage to get over that 43, let me zoom in here, 15 minute. If ES can get over 43.50, we're probably going to go red to green. If we get 43.80, the next supply is going to be 4,400. We can go straight for that pretty quick. Because you zoom out here on the daily, look at how many days of downside we had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, okay? Followed by a soak, upside day breakout, inside bar. We held that supply, and if we hold that supply, reclaim, continue up to the next major supply, which is going to be through 4,400. You could just say 4,480, okay? That's the technical perspective. For the bears, if they can get below 42.50, guys, we're going to 4,100. That's kind of the situation we're in right now. Now's not the time to just chase the opening pops. It's to look for supply to come in so you have a clear defined risk for that next setup. Okay, let's go look at some beta names. Let's look at Apple. And you'll see down here I actually have the flow up. I'm going to pull some names up and we'll talk about some of the flow they had last week here. So Apple, notice the reference, guys, for today is you're going to be looking at Friday's price action. Look at this pivot low, this consolidation here after hours Thursday, pre-market Friday, pivot low, today's pre-market lows, and where the price is currently. But the relation between The current price and Friday's pivot low is very important, and that's the bull and bear watch, because the bears want to see it snap that level, come back in for a retest for some puts, roll back down to 157, 152, and the bulls are looking for a hold of that level, red to green move. Okay, so Apple, I'm going to pull up the flow on Apple. Okay, this is the flow on Apple that we had from Friday. Okay, as you can see, bullish dominance. We had opening weakness, held this level, ripped it up. And then we held just under this 165. There's potential for us to do a similar move, but crack that today. Nothing but bullish flow, looking for the 25th expiration. Most of this is the 25th. Here we've got a next month expiration. We got one coming up this Friday. Yeah, so most of this flow was just for it expired Friday. So keep in mind, we have a nice size order here at 363,000 and here at 173. But we need to see more bullish flow today to continue, because most of that expired. Okay, let's go jump over to Amazon. Amazon, a little bit more room towards these previous lows than Apple. Notice how much higher the pre-market lows today are over Apple. This was a very strong name on that opening soak. It held really well, didn't even pull back much, held and then ripped to the upside. 29.85 to 3,000 would be a great flush opportunity to snap this thing up. Looking for it to hold that demand. This is probably going to be my primary watch here today. Did it have any flow? Okay, it had one sweep and it expired. So Amazon, not any flow. Potential if we break over that 3077, we got 3100 in sights, no doubt. Let's look at Nvidia. Actually, we'll go to AMD. AMD, nice higher low over pre-market over the prior day, setting up just below supply here on that 121. Interesting note about AMD is that they have buybacks announced. I can't remember the amount, but there's buybacks on it. It had a very strong confirmed. Just look at this upside confirmed here on AMD. Very strong over the past few days. A lot of people wanted this thing close to $100, and they are sitting in a pretty spot right now. I expect this to be one of the first names bought if we do pull back. So any pullback towards that 114, 115 on this name would be a sweet entry today. That's something to keep in mind. But it looks like market opens, this thing could just rip straight red to green. As far as AMD goes, we'll look at Nvidia. Notice how it's so close to Friday's price action. AMD gapped up away from it, right? It gapped up away from it. Nvidia is a lot closer to it. That's kind of a bearish sign. The bearish would be a better opportunity for a short once we break those levels, right? Or if we get any extreme pullbacks towards 230, that'd be interesting for that long idea. But Nvidia a lot closer to those levels, a little bit sketchier for the bull side idea. Doesn't mean it can't ramp, but it does look a little strange. Let's look at AMD's flow. I didn't pull AMD's flow up. Here's AMD's flow. A lot of it is expired. Yeah, all of it's expired. So nothing there. See, a lot of people are making short-term speculative bets last week. Nvidia, let's look at this. 25th. A couple expirations. This is a pretty big one on the 232.50s. They're getting paid. They bought at 10 a.m. on Friday. We've got some here into mid-month. We have a couple weeks. So yeah, some decent flow here on Nvidia. Looking for all the call side, all the bearish put sweeps expired Friday. So there's potential for Nvidia to get that ramp, but you just need to keep in mind that divergence on Nvidia. Let's look at Microsoft. So Microsoft here, it's already on the lows. Okay, it's already back on the lows. So Microsoft's giving it up quick. Why it's important to compare charts like this is because you can see where's money leaving and where's it flowing into, right? So money's flowing into like AMD and supporting AMD, right? Or Amazon and Apple. Here it's first to leave, right? So keep that in mind. If we snap this 291, I mean the next decent, you can 290 is a level, but I don't really like it too much. I much prefer closer to 285, given how weak this how Microsoft's been. Doesn't mean it can't ream out and go to 300, but it has been pretty weak. The flow has just been a bunch of block orders, which aren't significant. It's worth noting, but I wouldn't put too much stock in it because look at all these orders and look at the price action. So not too impressed with Microsoft for the bullish idea. I will look at Tesla. Now Tesla has had a ridiculous amount of flow over last week. A lot of money. Friday specifically, we had a lot of 25s. Some for next month. I'll sort them by premium here, just so you can see the largest orders on the calls. Somebody put $1 million to those 910s early morning. They definitely got paid if they got them on this pullback. And Tesla is also, it's kind of close to the previous lows, but it's almost green here. So it could easily, if it flushes out, look for that 775 for the scoop if it does get that flush, but potential just to rip and go straight to 820s, especially if the ES can hold that 4300 and kind of remount. So that's Tesla there. Now let's see, what else do we got? Any other names I find interesting this morning? I don't think so. You can see pre-market ES is already kind of walking it back here a little bit. I'm just pulling it back. 4260, 4250 is the bull's line in the sand. This area right here. VWAP at 4300. I wouldn't be surprised to see it pull in towards 4280 first thing out of the gate. But that's the area we need to see this hold for that wash long idea. Probably my focus is going to be Amazon. I'd love to see Amazon 3000. I'd love to see that pull in. And AMD 115. That's probably going to be my focus. If we get it, guys, we're probably not going to get it. Look at AMD. It already wants to perk up. Like, notice how AMD is just going sideways. And then you pull up a name like Apple. Whoa. Pull up Apple. Apple's going sideways as well. Not as close. But AMD is just looking like it wants to ramp. And the ES has just been walking it back. It looks like it wants to break 120 and squeeze right on up. And it was one of the first names to do so back on this day right here. So we'll just keep an eye out on the price action as we head towards 930. But AMD and Amazon are going to be top watch out of the open. Ideally getting that flush down to sell the pop. I mean, I don't really want to go short right here. I can see the short thesis. The short thesis is incredibly valid on pretty much everything. I mean, we're looking for the daily lower high AMD, but if you go over to ES and you're looking from a bearish perspective, we're going to get a lower high under this 5. Let's just say 4550 area, right? The question is, where is it going to be? Is it going to be here, or is it going to be at 4400 or 4450, right? So bears are looking short under 4380. Anything over that, and this can blow out of the water. And the issue is, if you're shorting beta names, and you're shorting the beta names under this this gap down, right under this resistance, the issue with that is the second ES goes to like 4350, or ES goes up 20 points to 4340, beta's gonna rip. It's gonna kind of, I have a feeling beta's gonna like front run the ES move. So the issue with that is you're gonna have such a high risk if you short beta based off this supply on the ES. So it's gonna be pretty interesting. I'm just looking for some emotional short term to capitalize on. But if we don't get it, then we don't get it. I mean, that's pretty much what we're looking at here. So, all right, that is it for my thoughts for this morning, and I'm going to pause the recording and just continue streaming through the open.